And as a young lieutenant, I got a chance to go to a formal dinner and listen to a veteran of the 9th Cavalry from the late 1930s and 1940s. I had a deep connection to an actual member who served in the segregated army. Similarly today, each and every one of us who have joined with the Shemin family, who have a chance to meet with Elsie and Ina, are now connected directly to Bill Shemin and his heroism from 100 years ago. You now bear witness to his heroics and his efforts to combat, in his time, the anti-Semitism that still existed at the turn of the century. And as soldiers who are here today that we'd like to thank from the 369th Harlem Hellfighters, those representatives of the modern-day 369th Infantry Regiment and their veterans organizations who also have that same connection. The family members know this from the Shemins because Henry Johnson was awarded that Medal of Honor just about 15 months ago. These actions bring us together and tie us together. And I'm so proud and honored that we could all be gathering today for this commemoration. I would like to acknowledge a number of visitors and distinguished guests that we have amongst us. Please, if I miss you, do not feel insulted. I've worked very hard on the list, but it's never all inclusive. First and foremost, the soldiers of the 42nd Infantry Division who are present today with our color guard. Many of you may not know, the 42nd Division, its history also goes back to World War I, and the 42nd fought with distinction alongside the 4th Division that Sergeant Shemin served in. I'd like to recognize First Lieutenant Pizzarello, First Lieutenant Scott, and Sergeant First Class Soto from the 369th Sustainment Brigade, the modern-day soldiers of the Harlem Hellfighters. That unit is currently at Fort Hood, Texas, training for overseas deployment. The soldiers of the modern-day Harlem Hellfighters will be overseas before the end of the year. I especially want to thank representatives from area veteran organizations, especially Leon Wallace and other members of the 369th Veterans Association, the Richmond County Post. I want to recognize National Commander of the Jewish War Veterans, Colonel Carl Singer, and other members of the Jewish War Veterans, both from New Jersey, New York, and myself from upstate New York. We want to extend a warm welcome to Charles Grensky, Mayor de Blasio's Veterans Advisory Board representative, and also commander of Staten Island JWV Post 80. Is Matt Bazile here? Matt did not make it. The New York City Department of Veterans Affairs sends its highest regards for today, along with Patrick Ryan, the Communications Director for Congressman Daniel Donovan Jr. from the 11th District here in New York. We want to recognize the Moskowitz family and the rabbis. Of course, we also want to thank the wonderful hosting from the Baronhurst Cemetery, from their staff and leadership. And at this time, I'd like to share with you the real reason that we are together, which is to provide you a summary of the Medal of Honor citation for Sergeant William Shemin. All right, most of you know the story already, but you're going to hear it again. Sergeant William Shemin served as a member of Company G, 2nd Battalion, 47th Infantry Regiment, the 4th Infantry Division, the Ivy Division. They were part of the American Expeditionary Forces. During combat operations, he was recognized against the enemy on the Vesle River, near Bezouches in France. Bill Shemin was just a rifleman at the time, in August 7th to 9th in 1918. He voluntarily left the cover of his platoon's trench and crossed an open space under fire, repeatedly exposing himself to heavy machine gun and rifle fire to rescue wounded comrades. He did this repeatedly. Sergeant Shemin left cover and crossed open space, exposing himself to rescue wounded fellow soldiers. After all the officers and senior non-commissioned officers in his platoon had become casualties, Bill Shemin took command of that organization and displayed great initiative under fire until he himself was wounded on August 9th. Captain Rupert Purdon, one of Shemin's superiors, wrote this about him. With the utmost disregard for his own safety, Shemin sprang from his position in his platoon trench, dashed out across the open in full sight of the Germans, who opened and maintained a furious burst of machine gun and rifle fire. Immediately after the war, Bill Shemin was recognized for this with the Distinguished Service Cross. That is our nation's second highest award for gallantry. It would be nearly another 98 years before Bill Shemin would receive the full recognition for his gallantry, the Medal of Honor, presented in June of 2015. At this time, we call forth Elsie and Ina. Not yet?
I'll start.
You'll start. You want to talk first?
Yeah. Yeah.
You're in line to do.
So cute.
She's wonderful.
We'll bring a chair forward for you. So again, a background. Some of you know the story, some of you do not. There was a period of time in our country's history in the past 20 years where our nation looked back to Vietnam, Korea, and World War II to see if there were deserving members of the military who were African American, Hispanic, or of the Jewish faith, who may have been under-recognized for their gallantry. Elsie saw that World War I was missing from that account. And Elsie and the Shemin family worked very hard with the sponsorship of the Jewish war veterans to remedy that and to have the actions and deeds of Sergeant Shemin reevaluated for consideration of the Medal of Honor. It is through those efforts, and Elsie represents the efforts of the entire family, that recognition was provided last year. So I'm very happy to introduce Elsie Shemin.
Yay.
I'm just so overwhelmed with what I'm seeing. I can't even start here. For all of you, the 369th especially, as you know, Sergeant Johnson is now the narrative of our family too. Wherever I speak on behalf of Sergeant Johnson. It is our honor and privilege of the Shemin family to always recognize him. And the rest of you veterans, from the Jewish war veterans to the veterans of foreign wars and the Bayonne group, absolutely. I am so glad that you're all here. And if I've missed anyone, like Colonel Goldenberg, I apologize. And the rest of you veterans here, my heart is just, what can I tell you? Thank you, thank you, thank you for honoring this wonderful man 97, 98 years later. Thank you for standing there, being there on behalf of the Shemin family. I can't thank you enough. There are two things that happened here. One is honoring my father. The second thing is that we all, the Shemin family, came together. And that's such a mitzvah for us because there are so many that we older folks don't know that will move forward and always remember who my father was and who they are together. There have been wonderful connections. So thank you all for coming and stay connected. That's what my father told the three of us. Always stay together. Remember, Ina? Always stay together. And we did. I want to thank Chaplain Douglas. Where are you? Rabbi? I just wanted to say thank you because I didn't have a chance to give you a hug and thank you personally. For the reading that you gave was so appropriate. And how do you thank Colonel Goldenberg? He's a take charge kind of guy. Just what can I tell you? He has pulled this together. He's a colonel in the New York State Army National Guard. Did I get it right, Rich? Okay. Public Affairs. And he's Mr. Public Affairs. You can just see who he is. A nice Jewish boy. What can I tell you? Handsome. Adorable inside and outside. Okay.
Call my mom and tell her that.
She'll say, you don't know the real story. Right? All right. And Barbara Loring, wherever you are, thank you. Barbara is president of the Baron Hirsch, and they should say Baron D. Hirsch, as we all know it, but it's Baron Hirsch Cemetery Association. She's the president. And look what she's done. All of this beautiful work, the flags at the entrance, the mums, the decoration, and kept the graves so beautiful. Because people come to visit, and you don't have to be Jewish to come here to visit. And she's the one responsible. She's the boss. But then we look at the superintendent and the assistant superintendent, Pam Itzkowitz and Elaine Pichoni, I hope I said it right. Yes. Both of them are people that I've been dealing with, and they've just been terrific. Now, very briefly, I have two icons from St. Louis, Marsha and Paul Moskowitz. There they are. And can you believe this? Both of their kids are rabbis. So they don't have to go to a rabbi to ask a question. Stephen, rabbis both with pulpits on Long Island. Is that correct? Yes. Thank you so much, you and Carl, for coming. We have next Marty Satroff from the Jewish War Veterans Post 80.
Speak into the mic, Elsie. Speak into the mic.
We have Marty Satroff, Jewish War Veterans Post 80, Senior Vice Commander. Marty brought the wonderful gentleman who is the bugler. You don't have real buglers anymore. They're all on tape. This is the real stuff. Thank you so much for coming. And Marty for the phone calls, for the schlepping, the dragging, wherever you are. Thank you. I want to share, there are two people here that are unsung heroes. Steve Shemin and Barry Shemin. They are the keeper of whatever it is of the Shemin family. They sit quietly, they know the trees, they know the branches, they know the flowers, they know the thorns. And they do such beautiful work. And if you want to know more about the Shemin family, call either of them. They're always so generous with their time. And Barry and Steve, wherever you are, you have not gone unappreciated. And Hillary, that's Steve's wife. Hillary is a professional photographer. If you see her and she takes pictures, they're so marvelous.
Take a picture.
Okay, then we have Carl Singer here, who's a national commander. I know I've been redundant, but I'm the one, too, that wants to thank them personally, aside from Colonel Goldenberg. Carl Singer, the national commander of the Jewish War Veterans. And the name of the bugle is Ted Schneider. I would, again, thank you. What a turnout this is. I'm going to come to you. We have a surprise for you. Okay, I want to introduce my adorable, wonderful sister, Ina Shemin Bass.
Am I saying?
This is crazy, isn't it?
Am I saying something now? Memories. My father was the son of Russian immigrants who settled in Bayonne, New Jersey. He possessed both a pioneering and rebellious spirit, a love of the land, and above all, a love of the United States of America. At 16, while attending Bayonne High School and playing semi-pro baseball, the Bayonne Sea Lions at the time, his eye caught an article in the newspaper looking for recruits to build the first ranger school in Wanakena, New York, in the Adirondacks. He was selected as one of 12 young men. His parents could do nothing to stop him. My father was tough. He was an incredible physical specimen, and he excelled in all sports. These young men cleared the forest with sheer physical force, using axes, saws, horses, and wagons, nothing mechanized. They built the first buildings on that campus, and while living in the most primitive conditions, he thrived on it. No heat, washing with cold lake water. One of his first jobs was as a fire ranger on top of a mountain with a mule for transportation and surrounded by rattlesnakes. Again, he thrived on it. When World War I broke out, he was underage, but he forced his parents to sign for him. He enlisted in the Army, first the cavalry, then the infantry. His Army career was to have a profound effect on him for the rest of his life. It also affected his family. We had to do everything in a most military manner. And we did. The wounds he received in battle allowed for a college education. He went on to graduate from the forestry school at Syracuse University, where he excelled in both football and lacrosse. After graduating, he built the greenhouses and a nursery on 5 acres in the Bronx. And this is where my siblings and I grew up and worked. The 4th Division Ivy Leaf insignia became the hallmark of the Ivy Floral and Landscape Company. And I remember the times when men would stop by, comment on the insignia, and he would always be happy to talk to them about the 4th Division. But his dearest friend, his Army buddy, was Jim Pritchett, a cop from New Jersey, who visited us regularly, and I remember him as a child. And he was the one who said, "But for being a Jew, your father would have received the Medal of Honor." My father carried him from the battlefield and saved his life. When World War II broke out, he tried desperately to join up again. He tossed his Distinguished Service Cross down, trying to convince recruiters that this country needed him. By then, he walked with a cane. He never saw this country's faults. Those that criticized it were banished from our house, and that included relatives. He loved this country with all his heart. He never considered himself a hero, but he was a true American patriot. Thank you. Oh.